There are certain items you must have on hand in case there's a blackout. Vital items for that matter. And it doesn't matter what causes it. It could be a power failure, grid going down, an EMP. The first few days are so vital. So I'm going to go through a list and stay through this list because when I get to the very last item, oh, it's so important and you'll certainly see why. So counting down to number 1, first off we have number 9, food and water, obviously. And this almost goes without being said, have lots of food and water, but more specifically for the first few days, I mean, even if we're talking about a long-term grid down situation, the first few days are vital. You don't want to necessarily get out the stockpile stuff just yet. Having certain items like canned food, cans of food that's already prepared, like for example, a can of chili, maybe add heat to it. I mean, that's even optional too. Makes life easier as you transition. And their first few days are going to have so much stuff going on. Don't stress about the really long-term preps, but obviously make sure you have lots of food and water on hand for this situation. Number 8, cash. I always recommend have a few $100s in smaller denominations. We know the major businesses, corporations like Walmart and stuff will be shut down, no credit card, no internet, etc. So having cash, especially for mom and pop places, absolutely vital. And you want to be able to stock up and move more stuff right away because it's going to be a long haul before you can replenish anything back in your pantry. Number 7, flashlights. And when I say flashlights, have a wide diversity, a variety of flashlights. From battery-operated flashlights to having rechargeable ones. That's what I love. I also have like crank flashlights and squeeze flashlights, all kinds of flashlights, because this is something that you and your family, especially if you have kids, will really need to be able to see around in the dark. I also recommend you have solar, like for example, a solar generator. So important. Now, we got along in history a long time without having electricity, but in our modern times, even just having a chest freezer, which you can keep running indefinitely with a decent size solar generator. It doesn't have to be huge. Because once that freezer goes dead, you have about 40 hours until that food spoils. I mean, you can always try to pull it out and can it and stuff, but if you have a solar generator to keep it going, that's a huge plus. Number 5, communications, because you cannot depend on your cell phone. Cell towers may be down, but even if they're not, they're going to be having an emergency only, and even then the lines are going to be very much tied up. So I always recommend a couple of things. First, have some kind of crank radio. Crank radios are good because at least you can get like some weather, some news of what's happening. And then having some kind of radio like CBs, walkie-talkies, or in this case, a very inexpensive but very functional ham radio. I'll link these below. These are really good. But you want to have communications not only with hearing news and weather, but also communications with their friends and family in the area. So make sure you all have these and know ahead of time which channels you're going to be talking on. Number 4, medical supplies. And because communications may be down, you may have a very difficult time getting an ambulance to your house or you getting to a hospital. So having, medical supplies, there's so many things we could list, from band-aids to major trauma. I actually have a list. If you actually look in the links below, you can go to our website and buy a simple checklist of a lot of the medical supplies that I recommend. Or you can buy an entire book of all kinds of different checklists and ways to prepare. But either way, especially if you have certain prescription medications and everything that you must have, make sure you get those ahead of time, but stock up in lots of medical supplies. Number 3, you have to keep warm. Having like a propane butter heater, great. Having a kerosene heater, great. We have a wood stove in our house. Having alternate means of heat is vital because if electricity goes down, so does your furnace. At the very least, have a tent you can put up in your living room or your bedroom. Have lots and lots and lots of blankets, possibly sleeping bags for keeping warm. But I also recommend getting the EcoFlow Wave. This is a battery-powered air conditioner and heater. And with solar, it runs very well and keeps you cold in the summer and keeps you warm in the winter. Number 2, manual appliances. This could be a simple can opener or a hand mixer or a hand mill in case you grind your own wheat berries to make bread. Whatever we have electric stuff to make our life easy, but we also have manual stuff too, just in case. And I like using the manual stuff anyway. I'm not sure if you do. All right, so I'm going to link all these items below in case you want to pick them up, but let's get into the number 1 item. And this is so vital. Not only I'll tell you the number 1 item you should have, but the reason why. And that number 1 item you absolutely have to have, weapons. Because stockpiling food or electricity or a manual can opener is smart. But when people get hungry, and it doesn't take long, by the way, people get desperate and people get violent. So I recommend weapons if you can, like for example, if you're in the United States and you're able to, have a firearm. I always recommend that. Because in '77, New York City had a power outage. Just 24 hours, just a little over 24 hours. And in that time, they had 1,600 stores looted and over 1,000 fires set for power being out just 24 hours. And that's why it's so vital that you have these items on hand, especially weapons, because it doesn't take a whole lot for power to go out to cause this mayhem and violence. What would you add to the list? I'm sure there's some things you would actually add to it to make sure you have in case the power goes out, because honestly, the way things are going, our grid is fragile. It's a very real possibility. Put in the comments below. And as always, everybody, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.